A couple weeks ago, I broke down 5 sleepers that you guys needed to be drafting pre-NFL draft. Now that we have draft capital, now that we have landing spots for all of these players, I figure I would refine my list to give you guys the top 5 sleepers for me post-NFL draft now that we have all that information. Everybody has kind of a different definition of sleeper, but for me, I'm going to be highlighting 5 players that are going outside of the top 24 in keep trade cut rankings. So players that are available for you guys to take in the 3rd or the 4th round of your rookie draft. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. In the pre-draft version of this video, I broke down some other guys that I won't be talking about in today's video. Chris Rodriguez and Zach Kuntz were 2 of the guys that I talked about. Both of those guys are still great sleepers, still great guys to go after in the 4th round, undrafted priority free agent type of options because they went late day 3 in the NFL draft. But I probably wouldn't take them, 3rd, 4th round like some of the guys I'm going to talk about in this video. And then Jaden Reed was also in that video, who doesn't, find himself outside the top 24 and keep trade cut anymore because he went 50th overall to the Packers. So he's actually being drafted before my threshold for what qualifies as a sleeper. So let's get into the list here. We're going to go from 5 to 1 in descending order. The first guy that we're going to talk about is Sean Tucker, formerly of Syracuse, now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, currently going 38th overall on keep trade cut, early 4th round type of rookie pick. I think the bad with Sean Tucker is well documented because he went undrafted, medically flagged for what we're hearing is a heart condition at the NFL Combine. So he didn't actually hear his name called on draft day. But I did outline the good with Sean Tucker's profile in the running backs to target and avoid video on Friday. And if you guys want to check that out, I'll link that below. Also did wide receivers that I'll make reference to in this video. In that video, though, I outlined this table, and you can see that Sean Tucker was among the top 4 running backs in the entire class, despite getting not great draft capital, undrafted free agent draft capital. And he basically hit or exceeded every analytical threshold common with RB1 finishers outside of draft capital. Like I said, he had good weight, good speed score, good age, early declare. BMI was good. College dominator was good. College target share was off the charts. Rushing yards over expected, he was about even. Backfield dominator rating, he pretty much was a huge workhorse there. And then same with his elusive rating in 2021, also very high. So there's definitely a reason he was highly sought after by the Dynasty community, and he was my RB7 pre-draft. Obviously, I can't account for medical red flags, him going undrafted, and I have to make adjustments as a result of that. But he does land in a backfield in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, if you're going to go undrafted, is a spot that you'd want to go to because it looks like they want a complement to Rachaad White. I firmly believe that. Every article that I read on Buck's Twitter was saying that, we might draft Roschon Johnson, Dwayne McBride, somebody, Kendre Miller, somebody that's going to be an early down complement to Rachaad White, who's one of the least effective running backs in the NFL on early downs last year, but was actually very good on 3rd down. So you get an early down guy to help complement him. There's a role in this offense available for Tucker to play into if he can impress in training camp. Now, I will say don't reach on Sean Tucker. Don't draft him in like the 3rd round, mid-3rd round, early 3rd round area because he's still an undrafted free agent and he could still be cut by the Buccaneers and land potentially in a more crowded backfield, unlike the situation that he's in right now. So that's why he needs to be a 4th round rookie pick or potentially a priority free agent. Don't draft this guy in round 3, but I do think he is a solid sleeper to go after in rookie drafts right now. Number 4 sleeper on this list is Cedric Tillman, wide receiver of Tennessee, now of the Cleveland Browns, 28th overall. Early 3rd round is where he's going in rookie drafts right now. I talked about him in the first video, so I'm going to keep this brief from a talent perspective. If you want a more in-depth look of his game, you can go check out that previous video I did the day before the NFL draft. He is one of my highest rostered players, though, so far through 7, I believe, rookie drafts that I've done. Cedric Tillman, I've drafted, I think, 3 or 4 times, and the reason is because he checks a lot of boxes for me. 6'3", 213 pounds, tested very well, 8.66 RAS score in the 86th percentile. Pretty good speed for his size, 4.54 as well. In the wide receivers to target and avoid video, he scored as the 6th highest wide receiver in this class. And as I discussed in that video, his flaws were the metrics that mattered least and were least correlated to those 15-plus PPR point per game scores since 2015 that I decided to look at the anatomy of. Things like having just one productive season in 2021, being 23 years old, and being a late declare. While those are blemishes on his profile, they were actually the least important blemishes relative to those high-end finishers. So that season in 2021 that he had, for me, it was impressive enough to explain away some of the things we saw in 2022 when he dealt with a litany of injuries. In 2021, in the SEC, he posted a 28% target share, playing alongside Jalen Hyatt, who was a third-round pick to the Giants. As I mentioned, he checks the box for size and athleticism as well. In 2021, yards per team pass attempt was 2.88, just behind Jordan Addison for top 5 in this wide receiver class. And like I said, when you look at the boxes that he checks, it's pretty much just the age-related metrics. And when I did the weighted average, you also can see that he's up there among the best wide receivers in the class. The Browns' landing spot definitely seems quite poor initially when you first look at it, but the reason I kind of like it for Cedric Tillman is A, it's pushed his value down a little bit, but we also have Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a free agent after this year. There's going to be an open outside wide receiver job at the very minimum after this season. Elijah Moore, up and down career so far with New York, gets traded to Cleveland. He's probably going to play the slot, so he doesn't really factor in too much. And then we have Amari Cooper, who's 28 years old, going to be 29 pretty soon. And his contract has an out after 2023. So if Cedric Tillman, can't get on the field early on in his career, that won't really shock me. But once he gets on the field, he could show out in practice, maybe force the staff to get him out there more in games. There's so many ways for him to accumulate value, to produce. And he could be, the long-term number 1 or number 2 wide receiver for Deshaun Watson, who you're getting in the mid-third round of rookie drafts right now. I think he has the kind of upside that can recapture his 2021 season and put out a Courtland Sutton-like career trajectory, maybe even a Michael Thomas-like career trajectory if he can put things all together. And he's going to be playing with a great quarterback in the long term. At least I believe Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback based on what he showed in his time in Houston. So number 3 sleeper of this video is Tucker Kraft, tight end formerly of South Dakota State, now of the Green Bay Packers. He was a third-round pick there in the mid-third round area, 39th overall, early fourth-round rookie pick as it currently stands. Another guy that I have drafted quite a bit of, and the reason is because the way I look at Kraft is that he's kind of hiding in plain sight right now as a great tight end value. He does everything well. When I watched this guy at South Dakota State, to give you an idea, I comped him to Pat Freiermuth because he's a good blocker. He's a good athlete. He's a good receiving tight end. He's good after the catch, 33.3% missed tackles forced per attempt at South Dakota State. For me, since my comp for Tucker Kraft was Pat Freiermuth, I'll tell you my comp for Luke Musgrave, who was the second-round tight end that the Packers also drafted in Dawson Knox. If we dropped both of those 2 tight ends into the Packers offense, which guy do you think would win out the starting job? I think it would be Pat Freiermuth because he's the better talent. And again, we're just making comparisons here, but Kraft is a lot like that, right? 97th percentile relative athletic score as well, comparative to Musgrave's 98th percentile score. So both of these guys are extremely athletic, but the difference between Musgrave and Kraft is that Luke Musgrave never really produced in college. In 4 years, he only had 80 targets, 47 receptions, 600 yards, 2 touchdowns, with a best season target share of 9.71%, best season yards per team pass attempt of 0.88. Tucker Kraft in just 2021, not even over his whole college career, had more targets, more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns, triple the amount of touchdowns that Musgrave had over his entire career just in one season. 20.69% career high target share, 1.93 career high yards per team pass attempt. I get it. He's playing at South Dakota State, but at least he was producing. He was dominating his team's offense. I have already likened this situation to the 2018 Ravens when they took Hayden Hurst in the first round, who was a bit of a reach at that point. Mark Andrews in the third round. And of course, we know what happened there. Mark Andrews ends up winning that job. To me, this is a camp battle for tight end 1, and I am taking the guy unequivocally who was the better prospect in my opinion. I had a mid-second round grade on Tucker Kraft. I had a late third round grade on Luke Musgrave. It's nothing against Luke Musgrave, not to mention he's also a full 12 picks cheaper than Luke Musgrave, so it's not like you even have to make this decision on the clock where you have to pick one or the other guy and pick your poison. You can just fade Luke Musgrave, take Tucker Kraft later on to basically get exposure to the exact same situation, the exact same offense, except with Tucker Kraft, I think he has a better chance of winning the job, and he was still drafted on day 2 as well. So he is a guy that I find myself drafting quite a bit of. Number 2 sleeper in this video is Trey Palmer, wide receiver formerly of Nebraska, formerly of LSU, now also of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I swear I was not trying to load up on my favorite team here, but going UDFA right now in most drafts right now, and I think that's ridiculous because I'm spending a lot of my mid to late 4th round picks on him left, right, and center. Another player who was also highlighted in that wide receivers to target and avoid video. And the reason is because he checks a lot of boxes as well, right? 6 foot, 193 pounds. He meets those thresholds, ran a 4.33 at the NFL Scouting Combine. So he's very fast, good deep threat type of profile. Dominated at Nebraska this year with a 42% dominator rating, 32% target share, and 3.07 yards per team pass attempt. So even though the raw stats don't look that impressive, like I think he had just over 1,000 yards, this offense did not throw the ball very much. And the fact that his market share statistics were that good It really speaks to how productive he actually was relative to his offense. He was a 6th-round pick, so we definitely have to keep that in mind, and that's why I'm only taking him in like the 4th round or as an undrafted free agent. He also had to transfer away from LSU to start producing at Nebraska as a senior at a late breakout age and all that bad stuff that we don't want to talk about, but he's still just 22 years old. He checked pretty much every other box, and as I discussed in that video, producing period is the thing that's important, not necessarily producing at a young age or peaking early and falling off. When we look at the receivers that hit last year that people had question marks, oh, they're late declares, they're older prospects. Think of Christian Watson, think of Jahan Dotson, think of Chris Olave. And the same is true for Trey Palmer. I don't think he's going to be quite as valuable as those guys, but I do think it's worth noting that he got better every single year of his career. Like I said, he posted the 5th highest score in the wide receivers to target and avoid video, just behind some of the best receivers in this class, 4 of the 5 best, excluding Zay Flowers there. As a 4th-round rookie pick, going to an offense that has an aging Mike Evans, Chris Godwin probably still there long-term, but even though Baker Mayfield is starting, I think what happens at quarterback and what happens to his value when an eventual quarterback upgrade comes in is what I'm really interested in the long term. I think he's a great guy to go after if you're in a rebuild. And if he has good peripherals as a rookie, let's say he goes out there, wins the number 3 job by season's end, and he has like 27% targets per route run on the season and like a 75 PFF grade or something, we could be talking about a guy that rises all the way up to like wide receiver 40 in Dynasty, and you're getting him in like the 4th round as like wide receiver 90 in Dynasty right now. My comp for him was Kenny Stills, a deep threat who had 3 wide receiver 3 or better type of seasons in points per game. I don't think this is a monster ceiling type of option, but I do think he has a flex appeal type of ceiling if you can hit on this pick. So I really like Trey Palmer as a 4th round pick, priority free agent pickup. But my number 1 sleeper of this video is Chase Brown, running back formerly of Illinois, now of the Cincinnati Bengals. He is going off the board at pick 30 right now as a mid-3rd rounder. My number 1 sleeper in previous years has hit with Tyler Algier last year and Elijah Mitchell the year before. The same type of career trajectory I think is in store for Chase Brown, in my opinion. I broke him down in depth from his, what his game is like in the previous video. So definitely if you want a more in-depth look on his talent, go check that video out. But to sum up, he's a well-rounded running back. He met all of the thresholds for receiving work. He was a 97th percentile relative athletic score athlete, running in the 4.4s at 209 pounds, jumping out the gym at the combine as well. He commanded a massive workload in college with an 86% backfield dominator rating at Illinois, which exceeded the thresholds for RB1s. Dominator rating in the 93rd percentile with 42% dominator of the yards and touchdowns for his team, also exceeded the threshold for RB1s. And he lands in one of the best offenses in the league. Yeah, he's a 5th round pick, and Joe Mixon is still there, but there is a ton of smoke about Joe Mixon getting traded, getting cut. Just literally look up Joe Mixon cut on Google right now, and you'll see all of these articles come up in case he, doesn't take a pay cut that the Bengals might cut him because he's dealing with a bunch of lingering legal issues, and he's older and he wasn't as effective last year. Even if he's retained, this team isn't likely going to give him some huge workload like they've given him in years past. Chase Brown has a real chance to capture the starting running back position, or at least a 50-50 type of position for an elite offense. They'll probably add depth if Mixon is cut. Maybe they'll bring in like a Kareem Hunt or something like that. But to me, I still think this backfield is wide open. From a dynasty perspective, you're getting a guy in the 3rd round who can not only both accumulate value, but also probably give you some decent production his rookie season as well, which is what we saw from Tyler Algier last year, from Elijah Mitchell 2 years ago, from Brian Robinson last year, from Ramondre Stevenson 2 years ago. Ambiguous backfields in good offenses are almost always good investments to make. At the worst case scenario, you're getting a guy who's going to be a high value handcuff to Joe Mixon. And I think that would be worth a mid-3rd round pick, let alone if this guy actually sees some starting reps. And Chase Brown, usually the type of guy that I want to bet on, a guy that's a well-rounded back, well-rounded skill set going to a good offense. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for checking this video out. Check out flockfantasy.com and use that promo code FSE if you want all of my rookie rankings, all of my dynasty rankings, as well as the data that I showed in this video, the wide receivers and running backs to target and avoid videos this weekend. Just posted that data to the site today if you want to check it out. Also, make sure to check out our show sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, to get some of these guys in best ball drafts. I know Chase Brown is a monster value right now, going in like the 17th round. Best Ball Mania 4 is live right now, and now is the time to get ahead of ADP come August. And right now you can use the promo code FSE at sign up and first deposit for 100% back on whatever you put in. So if you put in $25, you'll get $50 on the site to use. If you put in 100, you'll get 200 on the site to use, and you could win your shot at $3 million to first place, $15 million in total prizes plus a lot of regular season prizes as well. Definitely check that out. Best Ball Mania 4 is live right now. I've got like 30 entries into it since my trip to Quebec. So if you guys enjoyed this video, again, like, comment, subscribe if you're new around here. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.